Hello guys, and welcome to Daddy Share Space. So it's about 9 in the morning, about half after 9, and I'm running a little bit late today. I was planning on getting up and getting over to my local Woodcraft and arriving there right before or right as they open, which is at 9 o'clock, so that by this time I would be on my way back home so I can get started with my day. Things didn't work out like I wanted to, so I'm going now, and I've settled in on getting the Festool laminate blade. I don't think I'm going to pick up the 36-inch ruler today, simply because at this point in time I don't know if it actually moves the needle much in my shop. Sure, it's something that I would like to pick up for the flexibility. Obviously, you know, it's a bit excessive in one aspect, but overall, you know, length as far as in the shop, having different ranges and sizes of devices is very useful and helpful. But today I think I'm going to just focus on the blade, and we'll see when I get to Woodcraft if I decide to break down and pick up something else. But the blade is going to give us an opportunity, or give me an opportunity, to make a couple videos that I have been curious about myself and that I've received questions about, which is obviously, does a laminate blade make a big difference when you're cutting those types of material? And then what is the difference between that and buying a, I think it's a $900 or $1,000 saw, that being the TSV 60, which is, you know, at least in Festool's offering, supposed to be the best of the best. Now, I did some videos before comparing the TSV 60 against the Makita using a scoring cut, and so I've had the opportunity to show that. I don't have a Mafel track saw, so I can't show that in the shop, and I don't have a laminate cutting blade for my Makita or my DeWalt saw, so it's not really a one-to-one comparison on that. So, you know, we'll see what this laminate cutting blade does. We'll also probably do a little video installing it on my Festool table saw, and we can see how that performs as well. So I think that'll be a pretty cool, at least an interesting video, because I'm sure that there's someone out there that has considered these combinations. If I have, I know I'm not the only one that has thought about these things. I am not a big fan of driving behind and or around Teslas, because, well, one, when you drive around Teslas, you're under surveillance, because they, you know, they have those cameras all around their vehicles. So, you know, just word to the wise, don't be doing anything goofy when you're driving, when you're on the road with the Tesla, because they're recording your every action. You know, that's one of the, I guess, the benefits to, you know, whoever's in power. If you have a whole bunch of surveillance everywhere, you can really see what people are doing and when they're doing it. And I remember when I first came to California back in about, I think it was around 2003 or so, and that was when I had my BMW 325xi, which, coming from Kansas, that was, you know, considered a more of a luxury vehicle. And when I came out to California, there was as many of those on the street as like a Chevrolet, like a Chevy Impala or something like that. And now, you know, as Tesla has grown, that's what it feels like. It's still a niche brand. Everybody doesn't have a Tesla, but there's so many Teslas on the road now. Cybertrucks, and, you know, all the different cars. I'm not that familiar with all of them. Several people on my job have Teslas, you know, both doctors and nurses. I don't think, I'd have to be pretty wealthy to buy a brand new Tesla and drive it to work, because there's so many times when, you know, maybe I was catching a snooze in my truck and I get awakened by somebody slamming their car door into my door or into my truck. So I, you know, I could not imagine sitting in a 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000 vehicle and someone slamming their car door into my car like it's common trash. That would be quite infuriating. So I'd rather not put myself in that position. I think even if I was to become wealthier, I would still drive an old car to work. Some kind of old car, something that wasn't looking too hot, because you know, I don't want to come home or you know, come out from a hard day's work and find my car all bashed up. So I just, you know, it's just work, right? At least for me, I'm not trying to impress the people that I work with in that way, right? The only thing I'm concerned about at work is my quality and level of work, my efficiency and effectiveness at work. I'm not really concerned about what kind of car I drive to work. So like all weekends, you know, the weekend just started, but they all go fast. So I'm trying to mentally organize my day and figure out how I'm going to make it all play out. Of course, life is going to happen. I got to be ready for that. So whatever life throws my way, I'm going to have to do an audible for that. But things on the to-do list, I have not ordered the bolt for the 91 Saab yet, because I went into my local AutoZone and was unable to find an exact match. The bolt is like a M8 95 millimeter in length, I believe, and they only had like maybe like 80 millimeter in length. And then when I looked online, there are 100 millimeter in length bolts, but not 95. So I gotta keep looking for that. And then I'm also going to kind of shuffle some things around in the garage and see if I can find the bolt in the garage. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do that today, because there are other things that I want to do. Obviously, this video that I'm recording right now, I'll probably edit this and put this up. This may be the Daddy Share Space Daily, potentially. I don't know. That would make it easier if I do that. Then I need to work on the video for the laminate blade. That's going to be several videos, I'm thinking. I need to work on the video for replacing the splinter guard on my track, the 1900 rail. I still need to finish the Milwaukee miter saw stand. I'm trying to decide on if I'm just going to pull that stuff outside and work on it outside. It's a lot nicer outside. And then, you know, right now the shop is so congested. There's things that I need to kind of rearrange so that I have more foot space to be able to move about. The way I had the shop set up before, it was still pretty packed, but I had arranged it in a way where I had some degree of functionality. And since I moved everything up to the front, or all the working tools up to the front, I still haven't found my flow. And then it's also, you know, if it wasn't for that Festool cart that I made, you know, it would just look really busy and messy all over the shop. So that's why I kind of keep that behind me. I'm working on different ideas on how to set up the shop to where wherever I'm pointing the camera, it at least looks somewhat decent. And so I need to do that. I need to clean up the garage, get that rearranged. I still have to move all of my sheet goods and the rest of the lumber from the back area of the shop and move it more towards the front so that I can access those materials. Otherwise, if I don't do it now and I pack everything in the back, then I'm gonna have to pull all of that stuff back out in order to do any projects using those materials. And that's the challenge to having a shop that you do more than one thing in. You know, storing lawn equipment, trying to work on cars and housing automotive equipment as well as woodworking equipment, because you know, you're trying to have a functional shop where you can get to tools, where you have enough in-feed and out-feed and side space to use the tools, but then at the same time you want things to be movable so that you can transform your shop into whatever you need it for. You know, sometimes you need more floor space, sometimes you need more actual workbench space. And I'm almost feeling like this is going to be like a lifelong project, trying to figure out the perfect shop. I mean, idealistically, all my automotive stuff would be in a different space. idealistically, all my lawn and garden stuff would be in a different space. But that's not the case right now, so it's a whole lot of musical chairs, which takes up a lot of time in the shop. I had this idea too. Most of my French cleat holders that I've made are, you know, kind of side viewing to where you can, the tools are on display. And I'm wondering possibly if I change that up and still use the French cleat system, however, build like almost like a micro cabinet, basically like a box or a rectangle, whichever one that the tool will sit in, but the tool will sit depth-wise into that slot so I can just reach in and grab it out, very much like how a lot of contractors will have their work vans where everything kind of slides into a slot. I'm wondering if making a system like that would be more useful in the shop. Now, my only concern with that is how much it would decrease the overall diameter or footprint of the shop when you pull out, when you turn the tools from being flat on the wall to being more perpendicular to the wall. You got to think about the lost floor space in regards to that. And mainly I'm thinking about on the long side of the garage, when I want to pull my truck in to work on it, then will I be able to open my doors if I make something stick out that far? So that's something that I have to consider. And, you know, of course you can move things around when you want to. However, if you do, you know, you always have to tack on that moving and transporting of equipment and supplies from one area to another in order to accommodate whatever it is that you're doing. And so it's a challenging process, right? It really is for me, it's kind of like a puzzle that I'm trying to solve. What is most efficient? How do I get to the tool that I need to in the fastest way? And based upon that, that's where that tool should be stored. One of the gentlemen commented in one of my videos talking about leaving a certain group of tools out ready to go. I think that's a pretty good idea. Actually, I think it's a really good idea. But what I would add to that solution is, since I do YouTube videos, I also have to think about where these tools are stored and out, but also, does it look aesthetically okay? So like, can I reach and grab the tool easily, but also when I'm recording a video, it's not an eyesore? So I believe there needs to be some kind of a design element in that process or in that setup, so that I can just go out in the garage. Because like right now with the Festool walls of sustainers behind me, I can just walk in there and just start recording, and you know, the background is fairly uniform, and I can just do a video. A lot of times when I look at some of my older videos where I had all my French cleats on the wall, when I go back and watch the video, it can be, you know, for some people who like to see tools, it's, you know, not a big deal. You know, your eyes kind of wander around and you're just looking at this and looking at that. But like, say if you're doing something more specific and more intentional, then having a whole busy background can actually take away from what's trying to be communicated in the video. So as a result of that, I've been trying to work on my camera angles, and when I come up with an idea, that also provides an element of challenge, because I'm trying to shift everything around just to get a decent shot. So an idea that I had, I got it from YouTube, was to work out a U-strut system where I could put tracks like on the ceiling and build trolleys that can roll back and forth on these U-tracks, giving me the ability to slide left and right and back and forth, and then creating some kind of mechanism where I can put the camera You know, remember, oftentimes I'm working with 4 camera angles where I can put the cameras in the 4 corners of the shop and be able to pull them down to whatever height level that I need, or push them up higher so that they're out of the way, and then also be able to slide and position and pivot the camera to wherever I want to target it. That, I think, is a pretty good idea for a system. What I've learned over this time of doing videos and having 4 cameras, I have a total of, I want to say, like 5 lenses that I use. 2 of them are the same. They're just the 15 to like 55 kit lenses that come with the Sony cameras. And then one of them is the 18 to 135, which is also a kit lens, which is more of a telephoto type lens. And then I have my wide angle lens. I want to say it's like 10 to maybe 16 millimeters, so it gets you a nice wide field of view. And then the final lens that I have is my macro lens, which I use for, you know, extreme close-ups. And, you know, the limitation, so the downfall, so if you're working in a dusty shop, it's really not a good idea to be changing lenses a lot, because you can get that dust on your sensor of your camera, which can cause artifact that'll be there all the time in your videos and in your images. So that's not the greatest idea to be switching stuff out in the shop. So I typically try to bring my tool or my cameras out there already set up. However, if I'm using the 15 to 55, the limitations with that is that sometimes it's a bit too narrow, and then other times it's a bit too wide, and it doesn't have the widest focal range to zoom in and out. The telephoto lens is able to get closer to whatever I'm trying to record, but it is not nearly as detailed as the macro lens. And the wide angle, though it gives a better, like, it's more of a scene type of shot where you can see more information. I look at it as more like a locale shot, so you kind of got perspective of where I'm at in the shop. That's what that's best for. Or like, say if I'm taking photos for like a thumbnail, I can get really close to the device or the thing that I'm taking a picture of and still leave a little bit of room to be able to put in a title in the thumbnail. So that's the benefit of that wide angle lens. But I'm still trying to hammer down the best system, because to me, I would love to have a lens that gave me the wide angle and the ability to zoom in a lot more than the wide angle, so that I can do things accordingly. Because with that whole system that I'm describing, like the U channels on the ceiling with trolleys, now that can solve a lot of problems if you have the ability to navigate the camera closer to wherever you're working. And then if you have the proper lens to where you can zoom in to what you want it to zoom into, and you know, you can pull the camera up and down accordingly to really get that shot, so that you can basically take everything that's not connected with that shot out of, you know, your recording space. That right there is ideal. That's what I would like to work towards. It's hard to do with tripods, because behind the scenes I end up having to move tables and tools and everything, because the tripod legs are so wide. And sometimes when I want to get that right shot or that great shot, I can't get it, because I have to move everything in order to try to get that shot. And it's not impossible, but it just adds time to the process. And the more time I spend setting up or transforming the shop, the less time I have actually working with my tools. So it's, you know, it's a first world problem. It's a problem that I'm glad to have, because that indicates that, you know, obviously I have a nice collection of tools, which is great. And then you know, so that's a good thing. But it can be a headache day in and day out, trying to get all these friggin' tools arranged in a way to where it's functional and usable. So when we get to Woodcraft, I'm gonna try to dismount one of these GoPros and take it in the store with me. If the people aren't looking at me too crazy, I'll try to get a little bit of footage in Woodcraft and, you know, just show you a little bit of what I'm seeing. And then, yeah, I can't hang out in there too long. They seem to get uncomfortable if I spend too much time in there. So I try to just get in the store and get out. But we will see how today goes. The one thing I've had to learn about living in California versus living in Kansas is people drive you have to learn how to drive aggressively here. And, you know, it's not driving aggressive for aggressive sake. It's driving aggressive to protect yourself, because, you know, if you leave like a half an inch between you and the car in front of you, people will just try to muscle their way into that spot. I mean, you know, this 40 million people or whatever out here, everybody's like fighting and clamoring for their position and place in life. So, you know, you either have to be a person that's always willing to back off, or sometimes you have to be a little bit more aggressive to make sure, you know, that you stay safe and that, you know, you don't lose your position, if you will, because people, you know, you give them an inch, they're gonna take like 80 miles out here. It's sometimes it can be a lot of pressure for people, you know, the way that they act and interact, you know. All right, let's see here. We have pulled into the Woodcraft. Let me just, where do I want to park? I'll park over here on this other side. All right, as you see here, I've already pulled up the item that I want to pick up. I like to do this to kind of cut down on interaction with the employees. You can see them walking in the Woodcraft here, because sometimes people don't really know what you're looking for, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to find. How's it going, man? I want to get this laminate blade here for the TS60 track saw.
Okay. 05773 laminate. Let's take a look. That was a Festool, right?
It is.
Is it like this one here? Yeah. This is all right. Yeah. No. Which question? The laminate blade for the Festool? Yep, it's going to be a blue. Or the red. It's red too. Yeah, it's a different number.
It's the, not the 55, it's for the TS60.
You get the best marker for it?
Yeah, I'm right here.
That's okay. Order 60? Is that what he has?
Yeah, TS60. Let's see, is that the 168 millimeter?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you got it. All right, cool.
Oh, you gonna look around some more?
I think I might be. Let me see here.
I'll put it up at the counter for you.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there anything else? Let's see what else we got over here. Hey, how's it going? Yeah.
Ooh, you got a pretty stuff there.
Right?
That is, yeah, Woodpecker makes some nice stuff. There you are.
Thank you very much.
I'll put that in the bag for you.
I've already had the one class use. Spiked my interest. No, I've done, for example, I did the wood bowl, and I like that. I have no idea what to do. I want to take it home. I want to try, I like that thing. There are some other stuff now too. So it's the intro class. Great. It's the next one. How do I take? Talk about College Valley. You done the 101? Yeah, I want the 102 or 103. Right. Well, and I don't want that for intermediate. I just want like more basic. Basic plus.
Yeah, so there are, there are a variety of things. I mean, like there's furniture building, there's wood turning, turning, there's hand cutting dovetails, the CNC, right?
Whew, Festool stuff is expensive, let me tell you. So, I decided to pick up the Festool laminate blade, as I spoke about. The 168 millimeters should go on the TS60 saws. And I was just kind of perusing around the store. I didn't even ask about the 36-inch ruler because I was not really feeling like I wanted to get that. And then I did look at the spirit level, which is the little level that fits in the ruler. It's super small. I mean, it's tiny. It's like 65 bucks. I may pick it up sometime in the future potentially. But, after just meandering around in the store, I looked at the protractor head for the Woodpecker's ruler, and but it's 139 bucks, and it's not as if it's not something that I wouldn't mind trying out, but I just, I only have the 24-inch and the 12-inch ruler, and even though it will adhere or attach to both of those, I don't really feel like the shorter rulers are really going to do it much justice. I mean, it'll be functional, but I feel like that would be something that I would be more inclined to buy if I had the whole range of rulers, the 36 and the 49 inch, because you would have the most amount of functionality and flexibility if you have all of them. The other thing that I decided to go ahead and pick up today was the Sys 3 OF D8 D12. It's a sustainer, and it has an insert in it to fit your router bits. Right now my router bits are pretty much all over the shop. This sustainer is going to give me the ability to be more organized with my router bits, so I can keep track of them, obviously find them when I want to use them. I don't use the router a ton at this point, at this stage in my woodworking. However, I would like to, and sometimes when I go to think about using it, I can't find my router bits because they're, you know, buried here, buried there. Some of them are stored up under my little Ryobi router table, just in one of those plastic containers. Some of them are probably even damaged and not really good anymore because of how they've been stored. This sustainer is going to give me the ability, it can hold 1/4 inch, it looks like, or basically various sizes of router bits. So you can, you know, get your 1/2 inches in there. At least some of them look like they can accommodate 1/2 inches. So we'll fill this thing up with the router bits that I have at home, and then yeah, that'll be a nice little addition to the organizational part of my shop. Now, it doesn't help in regards to the sys port, but it does at least take all of the router bits that are strewn all over, or at least some of them, because I'm not sure how many router bits I actually have in the shop. Hopefully all the ones I have will fit in this container. That would be ideal, because then I know if I grab this container, I have everything I need and I can just go on and move on with the task. Now, the sustainer's not cheap. It was like $91 or something like that. Everything Festool is expensive. That's just the way it is. But I believe this is a step in the right direction as far as adding good functionality to the shop, so that I'm able to find things, which is going to make me more efficient. So there's that. You know, woodworking up to this point, and just working with tools in general, has been an excellent outlet for me. It's been a confidence builder or confidence maintainer, if you will, because you can get on your own island and do your own thing. Of course, if you put yourself up against other people that are superior to you in skill set, that could bring your confidence down if you're that type of person to be affected in that way. But usually I'm staying in my own head space, so I'm just focused on what I can do and trying to get to the next level. It's kind of like if I'm in first grade, I'm focused on first grade material. I'm not worried about what someone's doing in regards to their PhD, because it's not relatable to me. So I compete against myself, and I just keep trying to push myself harder with each and every day to develop more, to be more dynamic as a person, if you will, simply because, I mean, there's so many different things that you can put your time and energy into out here. And most of it is pretty expensive. Not all of it, but most things are pretty expensive. And I feel like, you know, choosing a woodworking hobby slash functional process of your life is, in my opinion, I think it's constructive. I think it's constructive, I think it's productive and helpful. You can not only help yourself by doing things, but you can help you know, your loved ones if need be. Same thing with auto mechanics. You know, if you develop a love for these types of skills, then it pays back doublefold. Number one, it eats up time that you may be using doing something less productive that doesn't benefit you, and it also puts you in a position to be an asset, not only to yourself but to others. So I think, you know, just putting those types of things in your life is very, very, very helpful and useful, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I will say that I did underestimate what becoming a woodworker or a carpenter, maker, I underestimated the size of the task and or the, you know, the journey. I guess in my own way, I minimalized it. I didn't think that I would be so deep in the weeds with it, you know, both economically and time-wise. Fortunately, because I don't buy any of my tools on credit, it makes it to where if I buy something and I don't get to use it for like a month, 2 months, whatever, it's not really a negative. You know, if you buy things on credit, I feel like you need to get some instant gratification. Like it really needs to prove itself right then and there. But if you buy, like say, a tool and you don't get to use it immediately, or you don't get to maximize it immediately, because it doesn't disintegrate. It's not like buying groceries from the grocery store. If you buy groceries and you don't eat them within a certain time frame, then it spoils and it becomes wasted money. If you buy something that's going to be with you for years to come, that you can get back to, as long as you buy it cash and carry, it is super, it can be helpful, you know. And if you buy something of decent quality, if you buy low quality things, then you don't have the opportunity typically to sell it off. Or if you do, you lose a ton of your investment. Contrarily, if you buy something, you know, you do the, you know, buy once, cry once thing, and you buy something of greater value, you have the opportunity later on to go ahead and just offload that item. Maybe you don't get 100% of your money back, but you know, there are people that invest in stocks and lose their money, you know, some all, some part. So everything has some degree of risk,